Where you going with this? Who you controlling with this? You think you got some nerve? Boy, say word. Cause I'm flowing with this. I think I'm growing with this. I think you knowing with this. I'm gonna show 'em with this. Hey you guys, it's your girl Taisha P back at you again with another podcast style video. And I'm so glad you decided to tune in today to Trust Transformation Station. And here at Trust Transformation, we believe that every day is an opportunity for evolution. And I'm so glad you decided to evolve with me. So today what's on my heart was to talk about this book that I started reading recently that literally is transforming my mind every time I pick it up. And it's amazing to me because I was gifted this book some years ago and I just never read it. And it wasn't because I didn't think the book was valuable, but I guess, wasn't on the vibration or frequency to find the book valuable at the time consciously, because it's a wealth of knowledge that I just had access to all this time. And now I see that I have the mindset and the openness to receive that knowledge. And I'm so grateful now looking back that I was gifted the book. And the book is called Four Agreements. And I'm in kind of like the introductory part before it really goes into the actual four agreements that they talk about. And in the introductory part, they talked about how we become domesticated as people. And domesticated in the sense of how animals used to be just out in the wild and there was nothing you can do to control them. They just lived in their own way, styles, natural sense of being as a just animal living in our world. And how when we began to make them pets like a dog or a cat, there's a certain way that you teach them to be, especially dogs. You train them that they sit, they stand, they fetch, they eat, they go outside to use the bathroom. You literally teach them every step of the way how to behave. And unknowingly, and it's not really that we don't know, but I think we don't recognize it, we have domesticated ourselves to be the same way. And that we've been indoctrinated to believe certain things, to think a certain way, to operate a certain way. And when we notice or just see people acting out of that way, we feel uncomfortable. We judge them. We look at them as strange. We criticize. We ostracize. All the negative verbs you can think of. We put them as outcasts because they're not fulfilling the standard. They're not living in accordance to what we know and have been taught is right. Even though in all reality, what is right? Because so many people, especially nowadays, we don't even realize how much of illusion we're being fed, and how we're only seeing many times one side of the bigger picture, the bigger scope of who a person may be. And we're judging and classifying people according to something that we don't even realize we didn't choose to believe many times, but it was something that was force fed to us, and then we start to live in accordance to it. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't believe all things that you were taught, but what I'm saying is it's one thing to just blindly believe something, and it's another thing to believe something but still have the ability to step outside of yourself and question it. And reading that chapter, it definitely allowed me to see myself in that, and see myself in a way where I had to think about the things I've been taught to believe over time, whether that be from my parents, to my family in general, to friends, to church, to school, all of these environments that I have been a part of that have been feeding me with information and that I have adapted to now believe as my truth and my way and the route that I should take. Now I see myself reading this chapter and I'm like, what have I adopted that wasn't my own personal life experience influencing this belief? And what has been told to me as a way to be that I've now taken on as gospel? And I'm not talking about gospel as in the Bible itself, but more so gospel as in that I've taken on as the way to be and just never questioned it. Now, I am a Christian. That is something that I was raised to believe. And I actually, now at this age, with me reading the Bible for myself, I accept that I am a Christian. This is not something that I feel like, okay, because I read the Bible, because I went to church, that is something that now I believe. Because growing up, I can look back and say that's what it was. I was told I had to go to church, so I did. There wasn't any question. There wasn't any pushback. Sunday morning, Sunday evening, Friday nights, sometimes even Thursday nights. And outside of that as well, when we used to have special services, I was there. I lived in church. Oh, Saturday rehearsals, let's not forget that too. I lived in church. But now, as a grown woman, where I have to choose what I choose to believe and wake up and resonate with every day, I understand that having a relationship with God is important to me, and I make priority in my life to do so. I read my Bible, I pray. I really try my best to align myself with the Word of God, and I try to live in a way that is pleasing to God at this point in my life. And I'm not perfect, and I definitely don't try to beat people over the head with the Bible because I know I have a lot of stuff to work on, so that's not my place. And the Bible itself says, he who is without sin cast the first stone. And knowing that I've sinned and fallen short many a times, it ain't even worth the fight. So I just focus on my walk and I'll go about my way. But outside of religion, I just wanted to touch on that aspect because I understand that religion is something that a lot of people have a gripe with, and people don't want to be restricted. And I understand all of that. And I don't feel restricted in believing in God whatsoever. I feel like believing in God has given me the ability to expand my mindset and to see the beauty of all that is around me, from the environment itself to other people to myself to what this world is as a entire collective energy. I truly believe that God is everywhere, and it's only right that I give reverence, to that, and honor to that, because I know that we can credit this and that to humanity, but I do believe that there was something greater and bigger than all of us that has allowed this to be real. So, that being said, once again, not trying to go off too much on a tangent on that, but I just wanted to give a breakdown. I truly believe that many of us, and even myself to some extent, but even more so at a certain amount of time, we don't choose our reality. And we have become domesticated where we don't question anything that we believe, and we just absorb what our environments force us to take on as who we should be. And then we live unfulfilled lives where we wake up and every day we're living a life that we don't feel comfortable in. And I do believe that is why we see a lot of the craziness going on in the world, whether it's people harming themselves or others, is because we're living in these realities where the world has become grim and it's become dark, and we don't realize how much we don't take control over our own autonomy and our ability to choose the life that we want to live. Now, granted, I know not everybody's going to have the ability to wake up and travel as much as they want to, or go to the high-end store, or maybe not even the high-end store, but any store, and just rack up and buy whatever they want, or eat out every day, and all of these frivolous things. But just in a general sense, some people don't even choose the type of job that they want. Some people have to work where they work simply because they have programmed themselves in their mind that this is what I have the capacity to do. This is what I have the ability to obtain at this current season in my life. And they stick with that. I remember when I was working at Macy's, this is before I actually started getting roles in my desired career field. And I was just a high schooler and then college student, just trying to, make some money on my own. And I literally remember, my goodness, I remember talking to people that worked at the Macy's, and they would tell me, yeah, I've been here 25 years. And they would say, that was the good days when we started. People used to have pensions and retirement. Nowadays, they ain't giving all of that. In fact, they trying to buy some of us out so that we could retire, because, they not trying to pay the new hires the way they used to pay us. And I'm like, oh, okay. And there's no tea, no shade to being a retail employee, because I was once a retail employee. I just told the story. But to be working at Macy's for 25 years in virtually the same position, in my opinion, something's wrong with that. Unless that's genuinely your heart's desire. And even then, I'm like, it can't be. Because I've been a retail employee. I've seen the ins and outs. It ain't all it's cracked up to be in any capacity. On your feet for long hours, dealing with unruly people at times, fixing clothing piles for hours for it to be ruined in seconds. I couldn't go back. And it's like I said, I did it, so I'm not shunning. But I remember those days, and I don't want them back. So for doing that, for you to do that for 25 years, I just wonder, where in that 25 years did you give up? Where in that 25 years did you say to yourself, nothing else is possible for me? Where in that 25 years did you say, this is all that my skill set will allow me? Because my thing is, it's different if you've been working at a retail company for 25 years and you went from associate to supervisor to manager to C-suite. That's a whole nother story. But when you're talking about you just in the same role for 25 years, well, I know even with a Macy's, it's a little bit more than that. You're gonna go regional and all of that. But anyways, either way it goes, nothing, no type of elevation. You're basically telling me somewhere in this story, somewhere in this picture, You got domesticated and you got comfortable with the weekly check. You got comfortable with the benefits at that level. You got comfortable with all right, the responsibilities. I don't got to take on too much. I'm still able to do this. I'm going to just rock this out. And you got so comfortable, you plateaued. And you never found a reason to re-strategize, to seek out more, to seek out different, to make it just a part of your story, but not your end all be all. And granted, I'm not saying, oh, you're supposed to go from working at Macy's to being an entrepreneur making $1 million a year. That's not everybody's story. And I'm one person that understands not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur or any type of role where they have their own business or they're having some type of control over other people, because they don't want that. And that's fine, because I believe that some people are better as support. And when I say support, meaning not necessarily that they're the person that's, just always in the background. But for instance, when I think about, and I know this is not the same example, but I'm just using it because I love to talk about music. We see, and I know there could be politics in the background, but Beyonce, we see how, in a way, when she was in Destiny's Child, the other singers, whether it be from when the group first started, when it was 4 of them, to when it became just 3 of them, they ultimately were her support until it was time for her to truly branch off. And I know all of the ladies, for the most part, even back in LaToya Luckett days, had their own solo career at a point. But at the end of the day, Beyonce is clearly the one that has the most success. And not everybody, initially at least, is meant to just be free and do things on their own. Sometimes you need that support to help really build you up. Because there's nothing wrong with a team, especially when everybody within the team is motivated to be successful and to making the group work in everybody's favor. And you can see that Beyonce thought like that. Say what you want about her, you could see that she thought like that, because at the end of the day, that's a part of her story. Where at a point she did need others. Now, obviously, she killing it on her own. She don't need nothing. But at the end of the day, that's a part of her story, where at a certain point in time, she definitely did rely on other people for a support system. And now she's grown to a level where that's not needed. And she's strong on her own. But not everybody wants to do that. That's fine. But at the end of the day, too, it's okay to be a Michelle. It's okay to be a Kelly Rowland. It's okay to be a person that is a part of the bigger picture, but not necessarily being the star. So I understand that. But either way, I think the most important thing is that you choose the reality you want to live in. And I recognize so many of us do not choose the reality we want to live in. And we accept the food that is served to us, and we eat the plate up. Pause. And we do our thing, and we pretend that we're happy with it simply because that's just what we say life is. And we just have this it is what it is mentality, and we never question anything, and we never choose to strive for more. And that's just a sad place to be in, because it's like you can always go for more. You can always wake up one day and decide, maybe I want to test this out. Maybe I want to give that a shot. Maybe I want to just expand my horizons and give myself the freedom and the space without judgment, and it not having to be about what so and so is going to say and what so and so is going to think, and who feels a way about it and who is supporting me. And it's like, support yourself. Because at the end of the day, you got to live with every decision that you make. And unless you have kids, that's pretty much it. And I'm not saying your decisions don't affect anybody else, but especially as an adult, everybody got to answer every man for themselves. Once you reach a certain age, even within myself, and I'm seeing that every day, nobody's sitting there looking at you like, all right, mommy's gonna step in now, daddy's gonna step in now, such and such is gonna step in now and answer on your behalf. No, it's like, you're grown. That's it. One thing I love to watch is like, I don't know, I have this little obsession with like documentaries and things of that nature. And a part of that is watching sometimes body cam videos of interactions with police officers and civilians. And there was this video I was watching recently about this police officer engaging with a mother, I believe her two daughters, and a friend, one of the daughter's friends. And they, the young women were allegedly stealing. And one of the questions the police officer asked was, how old are they? Everybody saying their age. And one of the women say, but what does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with anything? And he's like, how old are you? And she's like 20. And then the police officer says, all right, you're an adult, so mother, you can't say anything. There's no intervening here. There's none of that. You're an adult. You have to answer for yourself. And that's literally how it is out here. Once you reach a certain age, outside of what your people think about you, to the rest of the world, you're grown. You have to know how to conduct yourself and how to handle yourself. And with that comes with just speaking your truth unapologetically and living your truth unapologetically, because at the end of the day, you're an adult now. There is no somebody speaking up for me, somebody's answering for me. There is no, oh, because of this and because of that, this is why my life is like that. People can hear that and respect it, but it's also going to be like, you're an adult though. You're what age? Yeah. No. We're not taking that as an excuse. It's different if you're a child. So I say that to say, don't be that person with arrested development, or not even arrested development, but that domestication attitude where you are positioning yourself to have life dictate how you move, as opposed to you dictating how your life goes. Because you have the autonomy, you have the motivation, the decisions, the inspiration, the energy. You have it all within you to know who you want to be and to shift into that at any moment you decide to. Me taking this YouTube channel serious, even with my 1 or 2 views, it's because at the end of the day, I made a decision that regardless of what anybody around me, or even what I may think is possible for me in this season of my life right now, I know that there is greater out there for me if I choose to go after it, because I say so. And I know it's not going to come easy, because there's many people that I discover that have garnered millions, thousands, however many of views,
years before I discovered them. So at the end of the day, it's not about when you pop, but it's more about when you decide to say, this is my reality, and you start moving like that. If you're going to sit there and wait for your opportunity, you're going to wait for somebody to say, hey, this is what's possible for you, you're going to be waiting forever. Don't be domesticated trying to sit here and wait for somebody to drag you out your misery if that's where you're living right now. Because nobody's going to do that. You have to wake up yourself. You have to choose different for yourself. You have to speak life into who you say you want to be, into your dreams, into your future, into your reality, into your present day, what your life is looking like, and make a decision as to what you're going to do with the time that God has given you right now. Because at the end of the day, nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to say, hey, this is what you can do now. None of that. And nobody's gonna look for you to do that for them either. And honestly, that's the best position to be in, because you have your time to really use for yourself, to be that person that builds yourself up, that you can then help people. Don't be trying to sit here and spread yourself thin, overwhelm yourself, and then you never really pour into your dreams and your future and your goals because you're trying to be everything for everyone. Get out of that hive mind mindset, because it's not going to get you nowhere. And it's definitely not going to get you where you want to be. You got it within you to really take over the world if you choose to take over your mind first and then allow the world around you to shift. So I don't want to expand too much more on the topic. I really just want everybody out there to be encouraged to challenge. I was going to say change, but not even change necessarily. But at least be willing to challenge what you think. And ask yourself if you really feel that way, or if that's just what you were told to think. And if that's something that you genuinely feel strongly about and have that awareness of it, keep it as your belief. But if it's something that you're not sure about, dig deeper. Figure that out. Really wrap your head around that. And decide if you're in a position now where it's time to think different and move different. Don't be domesticated. Be liberated. It's your girl Taisha P signing out. Later, y'all.